Hello, viewers. I'm SB.
And I'm Amabel.
Two,
I did it a normal way this time.
2, 3, 4. Okay, hopefully I am past your intro. Welcome back. It shouldn't be delayed right now. I've done everything in my power, but the worst part about the delay, honestly, is that it's not even consistent. Like in the videos where we do have the delay, if you watch them, the amount that you are delayed by changes from moment to moment. There are some sections where it's effectively not delayed. It's I love an intermittent and inconsistent problem, you know?
I have always lived with a variable frame rate. That's just the way I am, and you need to accept that.
That's the way the good Lord encoded me. All right, so we have one major goal left, the claiming of Ostland. So let's go claim it. Fucking Castle Von Rocken, more like Castle about to get Von Rockened. Actually, hold on a second. Let's think about this.
When
So
this
we got
Castle Von Rockin is Von Rockin, don't come Von
don't come
Rockin.
Von Nocken. All right. Wow, you're really pleased with yourself. That's crazy. It's crazy that you thought that was okay. No, you're allowed to feel that way. That's not. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say. Let's give you a hello with Discord. I'm just trying to make sure that our man here has reasonable equipment on, and I guess he does. We just don't. We kind of don't have stuff that's all that great to give him. Okay. Anyway, so Wolfram Lore's army is quite nearby. Oh, his army is heavily just basic archers, like very very bad archer units. There's Theodoric's armor nearby, or Theodoric's army nearby. In addition to a bunch of basic Empire troops, they have some ogre mercenary units that they've recruited. A unit of ogre mercenaries. That's interesting.
That's crazy.
The ogre forces are like famously, that's like their whole thing is that they're mercenaries. They really rent out their services to other players. So in theory, you could see ogre units in pretty much any army, and it wouldn't be like totally crazy. So if we attack Castle Von Rocken, Wolfram Lore will show up as reinforcement. The castle's army itself is quite small and weak. I think we just rush it. I think we handle it.
All right.
They suspect a decisive victory, and I suspect the same. And I don't really. I'm gonna auto resolve this,
Okay.
Amabel.
All right.
Yeah, look at the almost no losses. Some damage dealt to the reinforcing army. We got a really really bad Wog army this time. It's kind of like crazy how weak all those units are. We killed Nudbrookert. Got him right in the Nudbrookert. Eben Toadbringer, I guess a cousin perhaps of the famous Toddy. Azag has become a slaughterer of men, a scourge of mankind, and everybody knows it. We're feeling big, we're feeling powerful. The enemies are not well positioned to stop us. Get our evasion ability here. So, Norden is next, and then Wolfenburg is like here. It's gonna be like a turn or two of walking just to get over there. In the meantime, let's have Grognok. Should I attack Dreicha?
Yes.
The question is, should I attack Dreicha or should I just have Grognok go burn down Castle Tempelhof first? So that there's nowhere for Dreicha to recruit units from. Because here's the thing, I don't know for sure that we're going to be able to get you. We have enough movement to catch, but like he's right on the edge of our movement range. So when we do this and he retreats, we will not actually be able to follow. And now we're in the goose chase. Amabel, this was my concern.
Okay. Okay, but you asked me a question, and I gave you the correct answer.
I'm not sure that it was. I think it might have been better to have Grognok just ignore Dreicha and go burn down the last of the forest cities.
What? Maybe.
And then have Skarsnik show up and actually handle Dreicha.
I'll have the doors open for the boys.
Okay, and then, you know, a lot of this is kind of whatever at this point. Infrastructure upgrades are not the thing we're most concerned about, but we do have to care about our interiority at least a little bit, because if we lose control of any of the provinces on the list, then we would have to retake it, obviously. We do not need to hold like 30 settlements worth of land. We just need to have taken 30 settlements in combat. So if we lose like that eastern Badlands area, it actually doesn't matter at all. Which is the reason that I have felt comfortable withdrawing Skarsnik from it entirely.
Right.
I'll hear your message. If I don't like it, you...
Oh hey, Grimgore's in for that pact. I guess he probably... This usually happens when they have suffered some kind of loss and they're looking to shore up their position a little bit. Probably he lost a fight with somebody. I'm not going to bother squeezing him for like the couple hundred extra gold. In the situation we find ourselves in now, I would say that it's literally just, it's not worth the couple of seconds that it would take. Dreicha has gone and attacked Essen. You know what? I'll let you have it. It's all yours.
Don't you need it?
Yeah, but fighting that battle is not worthwhile because, like, either... Okay, this is more annoying. Also, probably not actually fightable. With Zavastra's reduced forces, mostly like mostly goblin army.
Yeah.
I don't think we actually win this, so let's go ahead and auto-resolve that as well.
Man. Theodoric Goss Wild.
So here's the thing with Dreicha, right? Either Dreicha was going to just sack Essen and keep moving, in which case it doesn't matter, we still control it. Or, if Dreicha was going to actually take it or burn it down, that would mean that Dreicha is completely out of movement, and thus stuck in place for Grogdok to devour her. And any of those outcomes are good for us. Okay, she does not have enough movement to escape our pursuit range this time, and we feast. We lose almost nothing. So, like, at this point, I think it's very reasonable. You know, if we were fully devoted to this idea that we're just playing to the short campaign victory, I think it's totally reasonable for you as a player to just go, okay, I've clearly won, right?
Yeah,
and just tap out. And that's the reason that most players have never finished a campaign and stuff like that. It's just that you get to this point and it's just like, well, we get it.
Your schemes.
Yeah.
Schemes.
So I don't know that I'm going to have Azhag turn around. I think Skarsnik is close enough that we can just let Theodoric do what Theodoric's going to do, and we'll
take care of it.
We'll have Skarsnik run in and stomp him from this side. Because we do have some traveling to do. Now note, first of all, look at all the cool terrain and stuff over here. The Shrine of Ursun is up in these mountains, an ancient enduring symbol of the courage of the Kislevite people. Since Ursun's absence, the bear cult's influence has lessened, as the Great Orthodoxy affirms more control over the holy site. And if you play as the main Kislevite factions, this is actually like one of the central mechanics of their gameplay, is this sort of like religious schism between the Kislevite, the Great Orthodox Church, and the cult of the bear. And they're basically the two major Kislev factions, and when one of them overwhelms the other socially, they confederate and become the winner, which is neat. Also, we got a lot of Norskins here. This is one of the major Norskin factions in land owned by the other major Norskin faction. It's weird that they have just pushed down to Erengrad and then kind of stopped. Not really terribly interesting to us. We're just gonna keep on keeping on here. We got places to be. Okay. So, we noted before that Norden is owned by one of the Empire factions here, Ostland, under the control of Valimir von Rokov here, but that Wolfenburg is strangely controlled by an ogre force. Well, it turns out that ogre faction has set up an outpost, a little camp here in the forest, and their legendary lord
World Walker.
is just hanging out here with a full stack, kind of watching Gulgfag Maneater.
I don't
You're
think.
stupid for coming in.
All right. I need to know some more information about him before I decide if he's allowed to have that name or not.
Yes, this is a little bit problematic because obviously we are going to have to go to war with him. I don't know what to make of this yet. We don't have to have an answer right now. And we can just go into raiding mode here and leech some money. Somebody has unassigned skill points for some reason. Oh, right, because we won a battle.
Let's get stabby.
Gouger, I mean, like, Gouger's really not even doing anything. Gouger, just go hang out in our territory. Varag Pigkiss is back to hopefully actually have some effect on the battlefield. Let's see if we can block this army. Just lock them up and make things easier for Skarsnik. Nope. No, I cannot. Our heroes are so fucking incontinent. It's crazy.
Incontinent?
Incontinent.
Okay.
I mean, are you gonna tell me that Varag Pigkissa has not repeatedly completely shit the bed?
I just assumed he did it on purpose. He seems like he's into some nasty shit.
Yeah, that's fair. The pigs love it, so.
Yeah.
I'm listening.
Hey, Queek. Okay, a non-aggression pact, sure. So, there was one other major thing that I remembered before the last episode. I talked to you briefly about, but I said I was going to have to do some research on before I could, because I didn't remember the exact mechanics. But in addition to the short/long/domination victory mechanics of the game, there's also what they call shoot, I've already forgotten now. Basically, there's like a big catastrophe, a sort of like mid to late game. Oh wow, Sylvania was completely obliterated. A sort of a mid to late game catastrophe that happens around, like you don't get to know precisely when it will occur. It gives you, if you go into the options of a campaign, you can set sort of like a window of occurrence.
Okay.
And give it plus or minus this many turns. But if you achieve your long campaign victory, it can force the thing to occur. And basically, there's this in every one of these Immortal Empires campaigns. There's some kind of major late game world-shaking event that puts everyone in danger to some degree. But obviously, it's a bigger threat to the players who have more territory, where like lots of enemy units spawn, and there's a few different ones. It takes a few different forms. You can be afflicted. Your world can be afflicted by the Vermintide, or the Great Clearing of the Grudges, or whatever. And so I went and did a little bit of research, and I think our world here is set on default settings for that. So somewhere in the neighborhood of turn 100 to 120, we would probably see this like big calamity occur. And one of the victory, when you clear the calamity, that also kind of marks a victory, perhaps a point where you might consider your campaign to be cleared.
Okay.
Man, what are we gonna do here? We have 5 turns left with our Wog army, so we wanna make use.
Yeah.
The nation calls.
Valmir von Rakov is just the most basic troops you've ever seen. He's got actually 3 units of ogre mercenaries helping him hold out against this ogre tribe here. The garrison of Norden is, yeah, just little dudes. We can probably just declare war and have at them.
Deliver
Okay.
your missive and then get from my presence.
They're not actually at war with Golgvag. So, yeah, interesting. I'm just gonna have at him. We got places to be. We got advantages to push. Guess what?
Disagree with that?
He's like, no, I don't think you have declared war on me. All right, I'm taking the auto resolve, Amabel.
All right.
Look at this, just like this mass of tiny little men. Okay. Hardly any losses. Faction destroyed. We obliterated them in a single fell swoop. And frankly, they deserved it. Can you tell I'm trying to sort of rush on to the next game a little bit here?
Yeah, I understand that.
I hope that that's okay. I've already selected our next faction. I'm excited to get to it. Oh, wait, am I wrong? Where is... Oh, Wolfenburg is more inland than I thought. Where I thought Wolfenburg was is Selzenmund. Okay. Well, that's interesting. So my plan with Grognok had been to go burn down Castle Tempelhof to get the trees to just leave us the hell alone for a bit.
Yeah.
Should he turn around and race to Wolfenburg, maybe? Also, Scarstick leveling up because other people have been earning XP. I probably got to finish things with the trees. So I'm going to use the underway here. We're gonna run right up on them. If you move this close to another army while using your underway movement, you know there's a chance that they will intercept you, and you'll potentially have to like fight an underway battle. I'm really not concerned about that here. I would love to fight a battle earlier. We should be so lucky. All right, Gouger, just hang out up here. And I think we're gonna call it good there. So Scarstick's pretty close to Theoderic. Oh,
Raise Sigma.
look at that. Their banner changed. I didn't even notice this notification over here. Nordland, having lost their settlement, gave in to Confederation pressure from Reichland. We're not at war with this player anymore. We're not at war with Reichland. So this guy's army is no longer at war with us.
Okay.
So I guess Skarsnik is just running to Wolfenburg then. One more settlement, Amabel. We just hit our 30. And actually, I like that a lot because it means that we will not be spending a lot of time near Mr. Maneater while we are at war with him and taking his stuff.
Yeah.
I'll say this about him. If you go around with a name like that, people know that you are not afraid of anything.
True. Very true.
This is truly a creature with nothing to fear. So what is your like at the end of this campaign now?
Yeah.
Sort of where are you at with Total War Warhammer and these orcs, and just kind of give me your thoughts about the things you have seen.
Yeah, so I like the Total War systems that you've shown me and that I've experienced off camera. I think the orcs have some neat stuff going on. I like the WA mechanism, and I'm interested to see what special thing other factions have, and how different they are, if they are different, or if it's just kind of a different flavor of the same thing. it does. For me, this does go on a little long.
And see, the
For me,
thing is,
80 turns is a lot of
again,
turns.
we are for real, like taking the shortest, like this.
Oh, I know.
This is such a
That's-
this is such a short version of a short campaign.
Yeah, I can't. It just.
I believe
Wow.
my first Total War Warhammer 2 campaign, where I was playing as Clan Pestilence, is like 40 or 50 episodes long. Just the
And
one.
that was a short campaign.
Well, no, I mean that's but
That was a long. Okay.
it was not. No, it was not any of those things. But it's a campaign.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I think a lot of this is rad, and I'm interested to see more of it from another faction's framework point of view, which is a little unusual for me, I guess. Like I like seeing what different factions do and whatnot, and I'm interested in stuff like that mechanically, like vocationally. But
Yeah.
you know me, if I play a game,
You are very famously a one faction person.
yeah. Someone yelled at me about that recently. Maybe yelled is a little strong. But on that video where I talked about the fighting games and then Root, they're like, well, you haven't really played Root if you haven't played all the factions. You should do yourself a favor and actually play Root. And I'm like, no, thank you.
Yeah. Wow. Fuck you, dude.
I'm good playing the birds.
So here's the thing. I'm looking at this and like we are 4 turns to the end of our WOG. The only thing we need is control of Wolfenburg, but we do need to hold on to the rest of Ostland while we're getting it. And I'm a little worried about moving Azhag out and having somebody collapse
No,
on us.
I would just leave Azhag there, right?
Maybe. He's so good at burning stuff down. Is the thing. Yeah, I'll leave him there. So what do you think about this, like this, how do we put it, like mixed representations style of game and combat design versus the everything using one map with one set of representations style that we see this is much more common in like real proper 4X games?
Oh, I'm very much for this because coming at it again from my professional background from board games, you either will have a game that is at one scale. Either you're doing the strategic stuff, operational stuff, or you're doing. Oh, that's not great.
Yeah, so hold on a second. As is often the case, when you decide it's time to slowly say a lot of words, a lot of things have happened.
You asked me.
Visaland and Nuln, the faction that took out the vampires, has declared war on us, and they have attacked Grognok Fospike, who was on the wrong side of that river, to be fair. I retreated, but the map's not even showing us that. Like, I don't even know exactly where we are. I retreated, they pursued, and now we're out of retreats, and they are pushing us with 3 full armies, including their legendary lord. And just to get an idea of, this is the same faction, and so the same basic army list as like the Nordland. These guys that were like, oh, we got 8 units of archers. These guys are showing up with, they have, not that they don't have any archers, but they're showing up with proper great swordsmen, huge units of great cannons, the Hellstorm rocket batteries, which are basically like that, like a Chuko Nu kind of design, like a, like a rectangle of rocket launchers.
Okay.
War wagons with mortars loaded into the back of them. Hellblaster volley guns, like proper machine guns. A couple of land ships. I'm not even familiar with a land ship. Also, this guy seems to be riding a mechanical horse. Finlay Billings and his amazing mechanical horse. So we're just going to auto-resolve this because they're going to run us the fuck down with that size of force and everything. Like, even
Yeah.
with our Wog army, they were still over twice as many people as we were.
Poor Grognock.
But I mean, it's worth noting that that means there's a ton of hostile forces right near the stuff that we need to continue owning. Right?
Yeah.
We are actually like very much on the clock as far as whether we are going to pull this off. And maybe I should have moved Azhag into position. So we lost Grognock, who was not yet level 20. He is permanently killed. This is really scary, actually. This is legitimately very frightening. So where are they relative to my settlements? Do we have to hold Waldenhof? We don't. Waldenhof is in northern Sylvania. So if they get tripped up here, it's the stuff north of the river that we have to hold on to. If they go to Essen, we're gonna fucking lose our mission, Amabel.
Okay.
Go, Skarsnik, go! Just get to Wolfenburg before they get smart. Alright, Wolfenburg has no defensive armies or anything. It has walls,
Sides who we fight.
and it has 8 units of ogre defenders, but that's it. So I'm gonna keep Azhag in Norden, I guess. Just so
Just kind of cross our fingers about Essen.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a little worried about what Gosser's up to here, because now they've also brought Boris Todbringer over. With his basically full army. I might actually try something. I might try attempt a little sneaky. We're gonna step just outside of the settlement into ambush mode. See if we can trick somebody.
So what I was saying is that I feel strongly that either you have to do the telescoping scales where like, okay, let's go to a different map for the battles, or you are just doing a game about battles or just a game about like strategic / operational maneuvers. If you're doing both on the same kind of map, it's way funky, and that's one of the problems I've had with some of the 4X games.
Yeah.
Is like from that very basic modeling simulation standpoint. Which again, I know no one who plays these games seems to care about that, but that's that's where I come from.
Yeah.
As someone who spent a substantial portion of my career doing like models of military history and whatnot and political history.
All right, we're gonna pull in an army here and start recruiting, just in case it can matter.
Okay.
And then also we can make black orcs here. Let's get like, yeah, a couple units of black orcs. A whole bunch of big uns. Okay. So that's 4 units worth, or 4 turns worth of recruiting there. And we probably want some like catapults. And other stuff. Go fast units, maybe. Or what is this army really missing? We need 2 more. We have 2 more slots open. It's like I honestly don't know.
I don't know either.
It's a giant and a wizard or something.
Getting it done.
So Night Goblin Shaman. This one's a torturer. Elbog Face Smasher is a pretty good name, but we have recruited Snazdrog. Okay, so just in case it matters, we are putting together a replacement army for the force we just lost, and there'll be a full sized real murdering army in 4 turns. And that's like once you have your sort of late game infrastructure, recruitment buildings in place and stuff, you can do that. You can be
At
like,
least, yeah.
you can be like, we need to remuster. It is not such a huge deal to lose an army, but 4 turns and then travel to the front lines. That's a lot of time for the opponent to run wild and kind of do horrible things to you. You fucker. They did in fact run straight to Essen. Tell me you're just sacking it and leaving. They did. They left it in our control. Why does everyone want to sack Essen so badly? There's nothing there. Like huge settlements. I understand the urge, the amount of money you make from sacking like a regional capital with a gold mine under it or whatever can be huge. Essen is just like this tiny little nowhere town in the middle of a field. Remarkably, they saw through Azhag's. Yeah, they made off with 272 gold. Why? Why are you like this? A traveling clothier sets up her stall in Igorov, offering garments tailored so masterfully they're like a second skin. All who don her garments become consumed by self-obsession, forever admiring their own reflections and refusing all other duties. Undeterred, countless more queue out the door. This is a Slaanesh corruption event. This is cursed. These clothes are cursed to make you obsessed with your own beauty. So there's some corruption going on or whatever. Who cares?
I get it. Skirko Spinny.
Who cares? All right, let's fuck some shit up. So Wolfenburg is, of course, a walled settlement. Yeah, we're just gonna have at you.
Killing you.
Notice those ogres are at they have active trade agreements. They're not just peaceful but actually friendly with the Empire factions around them. This would be a big deal. Over like the repercussions of this would probably be a big deal if we were to continue playing this game. Most of the time we would spend working on our long campaign victory would be fighting off Reichland and Wissenland, probably. And hopefully rolling west across them. Amabel, it is the final battle, and I'm just gonna... it would not even be fun to...
That's fine.
I apologize. The places
okay.
where the big climactic battles are, not necessarily aligned with the climactic strategic objectives,
Right.
All right. Executed captives after battle multiple times. Congratulations, Skarsnik. We've secured Ostland, and with it, our short victory is complete. Glory to you. Glory to us. The war will go ever on, for that is the nature of this turbulent world. But for this moment, we can claim victory, and that gives us bonus recruit rank on all of our troops. And similarly, winning the long campaign victory would give you another big boost to help you push to the other thing. But yeah, look, we did it. That's how orcs play. That's how this faction of orcs play. The WoG stuff is universal. Obviously, the magic hat less so. But yeah, this would definitely be like a moment of being pushed back, which we have not really experienced. If we were to go on here, because this is like actually a horrifying force of Imperial cannons and war machines and whatnot that we would have to figure out how to brace against, while also managing the aggression of the ogres in the north here, which, like I said, is eventually going to turn into the aggression of the Reichlanders. But if you're willing to stop history and declare a winner at a particular moment, right now, that winner is us. Hooray, we did it.
We did it.
So, like I said, there is a calamitous event that is going to occur at some point in the near future. We're not going to deal with that here, but I might tune the settings of our next game so that it occurs a little earlier, so you can at least see it.
Okay.
Because I don't intend to stick around for a long game there either. Probably.
Right.
But so we are 35 minutes into the episode. Here's what I'm thinking. we're going to be playing our next game as Clan Molder. And I think we'll pick that up properly at the beginning of the next episode. But let me show you something about the Skaven clans.
Sure.
Okay, you made a face like you were very disappointed. Are you?
Was it my yawn? Because
No. You made a. I mean, I saw the yawn too, but.
That was the post yawn.
Okay.
That was recovery animation.
Okay. So just to give you an idea, first of all, obviously the Skaven are going to have tremendously different
Summon the electric
mechanics and stuff, but there's some things that are common through all factions. We'll get a little bit of an idea of that looking at these.
Yes.
What?
Oh, his face.
Oh, okay, so you still think they're cute.
I mean, they're kind of murderous and terrible looking, but also a little cute.
What do you think about Tretch Craventail here, who, when we selected him, said, "Squirt musk of bravery"? Here's the thing. I love rats. I have lived with rats, and I know that there is musk, but I hate them using the word squirt for it. So one thing I think Tretch is a really interesting design, because you'll notice his like cool cinematic here shows him stepping forward and making a big show, and here come his troops, and then he just sort of recedes.
Yeah.
Tretch Craventail's thing is all like, he's all about like the mechanical usefulness of cowardice. So like, for a couple of turns after retreating, all of the units in his army get bonus stats and stuff. I think that's a really funny design for a Skaven. It's like a cool idea of playing in the mechanical space. If you could you bait your opponents into overextending, and then you retreat and get all these buffs, and then have at them, I think that's cool. Anyway, so we're going to be playing as Throt the Unclean of Clan Molder. Seen here, munching on Warpstone with his 3 arms, because mutations a big thing with the Skaven, and with Throt the Unclean and Clan Molder in particular. We're playing a very like mutagen heavy game here. But before we jump into that, let me just show you some of this stuff. So here's Clan Scryer. This is the like super mad science clan. We're just gonna pop into their starting position and then pop out. But I want to show you some stuff. I want to show you some stuff. So we are Clan Molder, who we are ultimately playing here. They're a little closer to the map position of our last game than I would like. I was hoping to put us in a completely different environment, but you specifically requested that we play as Skaven. And I think that the Skaven clan that's going to have the most interesting mechanical variation from what we were just doing is Molder, for sure. Also, it helps that I have not played as Molder, so that gives a little extra interest for me.
Okay.
They were not in the game last time I did a Skaven playthrough, I believe. Okay, so here we go. Clan Scryer. You can see here a gray. What do they call their gray something? They're not Grey Wardens, but they're a Grey Seer, a Skaven Grey Seer with some plague monks, and this here's a storm vermin. They look so cool. I mean, Skaven are rad. And back there, one of those abominations that they're always abominating about,
Yeah.
This
I
guy
have a
right
question about this Skaven.
Yes, yeah.
Do they boggle?
It's hard to know. Boggling is a sign of happiness and comfort. And the Skaven don't really do that, so. Alright, so Clan Scryer. You have some mechanics that are just like common to all of the Skaven, right? There's this food system. We're going to have to keep track of how much food there is as we get more population and more armies. We're going to need more food to keep everybody happy. And with the Skaven numbers, it's just like there's a lot of Skaven. They all got to eat something, right? Skaven have their own corruption type, and you get a sort of a special lens for tracking where Skaven corruption is most plentiful. because Skaven corruption is how you summon additional units onto the battlefield, additional units outside of your basic army size. Places with more Skaven corruption represent places where there physically are more Skaven in the environment, and so you can do that because we're going to be summoning a lot of additional troops
Okay.
here, and so they all have that. But like, Clan Scryer has this whole forbidden workshop, like this multi-leveled upgrade system for all of the technological units that none of the other factions have. They have this system of doom rockets, which are powerful war crime type weapons that you can employ during battles. Just drop a massive like radioactive explosive weapon on the battlefield.
Yeah.
And so like all of that stuff is completely unique to this clan. And you can see there's like these systems are pretty built out, right? You're earning a bunch of different kinds of bonuses and pieces of gear that you can be equipping, special regiment of renown units, and accumulating multiple kinds of bonuses on your different, right? It's relatively in depth.
Okay.
We're going to look at also Clan Eshin here. So one of the things that the Skaven are sort of a bizarre mix of influences. One of the things that's really, really high up there in the mix, of course, is the mad science stuff.
Yeah.
But another thing that's high up there in the mix is ninjutsu. So they have this whole like, fantasy ninja vibe going on, and these unit, their gutter runners and night runner units are based on these sort of like weird depictions of like martial arts type units. They have their own Skaven martial art and stuff, and Clan Eshin is in particular the clan that's really specialized in that, and the sort of like the brand of magic that goes along with it. So if you're playing as Clan Eshin, you're much more focused on assassination and the use of these like very fast moving sort of like cloth armor martial arts type
Okay.
units.
That's neat. Did you see the way that Rat Ninja sniffed the nose, the sniffing?
Mhm,
That was
yep.
pretty good.
Yeah.
That was maybe
See-
cute's the wrong word, but you know what I mean.
The thing is, I find this Skaven cute, but I do not necessarily expect other people to. So that's why I was a little surprised. You are easily grossed out, I would say, by like certain kinds of like body horror stuff
Yeah.
that affects you a lot
Absolutely.
more than it affects me. And so I'm never sure where you're going to land on.
I mean, part of it
Things
is
like what we're going to see during our time as Clan Mulder.
I've lived with you for a couple years now, so like I'm used to a certain degree of body horror from like just the media that you show me. Would be very good from the media that you show me.
Thank you. I appreciate that eventual clarification. I mean, listen, you're living with a trans woman. There's going to be a certain amount of body horror. It's just like human bodies,
But also, like you have told me so much about your love of rats, and so
Quick death they shall have.
Sorry, they're very chatty.
I'm gonna find them cute to a degree.
So you can see here, Deathmaster Snitch has a very different sort of vibe than that other one, and they have this whole shadowy dealings campaign system where they can take assassination contracts from the other Skaven clans and work up their reputation with the other major Skaven forces on the table. And you get assassination agents out there, and so that's you're earning scheme points and the ability to perform Clan Eshin actions, which do special things the other Skaven don't have access to. And I wasn't sure whether you were aware how different the sub factions of a major faction could be, because like you're mostly dealing with the same like army list with these two sub factions, right? You can kind of recruit the same things, but it's the way they lean into all of the different bits of their faction's flavor and mechanics, I think is really quite extraordinary. I think everybody has approximately the same like overall tech tree. All the Skaven, I mean,
Okay.
have approximately the same overall tech tree, but then you have the other bonuses like you saw in the workshop and stuff. So yeah, I wanted to make that clear,
Yeah.
because we're not going to actually run multiple games with any particular faction, but
Yeah. So, but Clan Molder is the one that you feel that the one you want to go with of the Skaven.
yes, let's talk about what Clan Molder actually is here for just a second. So, if we click over to map here,
All life is experiment, yes?
our previous faction started like here-ish. Like
Yeah.
this is that mountain range. We were fighting in this area at the end of the campaign. So there's going to be some sort of geographical overlap and some overlap in the forces that we're fighting. Although, of course, randomness. But like by the time we got out of the mountains, Kislev was basically gone, right?
Right.
But I think we're gonna have some significant involvement with Kislev as Clan Molder. So it's not. I don't think it should be too similar. But I was kind of hoping to start on a different continent. It's stuff we can worry about later. So Clan Molder's thing is they're all about the mutations. We have access to the Clan Molder Flesh Laboratory.
Okay. I see why. I see.
And so this is a little bit more of like a beasts and monsters focused version of the Skaven thing, which I think is going to play a lot differently from the slow moving, heavy infantry focused
Right.
orc thing that we were doing. So with an ill-defined border, the north of Kislev is barely distinguishable from Troll Country and the tundra beyond. The threat from Norska in the northwest is constant, for it is a land stalked by all manner of gruesome monsters and savage madmen, of infertile ground as hard as iron, and howling winds that cut like daggers of purest cold. A network of fjords and mist-shrouded inlets wreathe the Norskan coast, and it is here that the Northmen tether the longships with which they terrorize the shores of the known world. That doesn't really have anything to do with us.
Yeah.
Officially, obviously, like, Skaven tends to live in secret in the places that they live. We're deep underground or whatever. So it is not, I think, a general knowledge thing that there is a huge Skaven city in this mountain range that we're about to start in.
Okay.
But there is, and it's where the flesh laboratories lie, where we figure out how to make them hell pit abominations, real gross and abominatory. Abomination-y? What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I mean either works really. They have different vibes, different textures,
I can't recommend that you touch them enough to get familiar with their texture.
different mouthfeel.
Oh,
Do you dislike the word mouthfeel?
not generally.
Set ready. Fight for Molder Clan. Fight for Thrata.
Yeah, and that's what Skaven generally sound like. Again, the Warpstone that Skaven love so much and, sort of like build all their weapons and housing out of and eat and bathe in is somewhere between uranium and cocaine. A highly, highly magical uranium cocaine. So Clan Molder has this unique mechanic where we will be accumulating growth juice to claim units and monsters from the growth vat, along with a mutagen byproduct for our flesh laboratory. Then we'll use the mutagen to augment individual units in our armies, while taking heed of the instability effects that may degrade them or shorten their lifespan. And then, like most Skaven, we'll be able to establish unseen undercities beneath other players' settlements, and secretly expand them to aid our malevolent schemes. We'll have to keep our faction's food supplies at high level and spread Skaven corruption, of course, critically important. Skaven, another faction that has access to the Underway. We didn't end up using the Underway too much in the last campaign, it wasn't. We didn't end up traveling a whole lot. It was part of it, but we do still have access to it here as these fellows. So here in the mountains, below the ground, it's in there somewhere, is the Hell Pit. Black Blood Pass dominated by the Hell Pit. This is our home territory, a great big 10-slot settlement that we can, eventually upgrade to have some truly horrifying things in it. The lower levels of Hell Pit are where you get the best abominations. And here's the Flesh Laboratory. So there's multiple screens of augments and upgrades, and I've never, like I said, I've never played this clan before. I don't really know how all this stuff works. We're going to come to grips with this stuff together. Doesn't that sound like fun? Up here we have the growth vat where we can pull extra free units out of the growth vat. That's fun, I guess. I'm a little overwhelmed by all of it, but we're gonna get there. So Amabel, there's one more sort of major question. Now that you're more familiar with the sort of the overall design of this thing, and I guess we should talk about really quickly. Sorry, before I ask you this question, because this is the idea I want to go out on. You can see here though, the basic idea of the campaign objectives is pretty similar. We have to destroy the two major Kislev factions, see that they stop existing, and occupy, loot, raise, or sack 30 settlements. And then our long campaign victory is just here's some more specific terrain you have to control and 60 different settlements. Mm-hmm. And I took the trouble of going through all of the factions in Immortal Empires and checking out what their victory objectives are.
Oh, wow.
And this is the basic shape of it for the vast majority, for I would say 90% of the factions. It's the short version is it's always some flavor of destroy a faction or two, claim a particular set of provinces, and then the long version is maybe a little bit more of each of those things. And again, 20 to 30 settlements and then 60 to 70 settlements. And of course, everybody has the same domination campaign victory, which is just hit all of the settlements on the map. But there are a handful of factions, 10-ish, that have really dramatically different shape to their campaign. And so after we do this, I'd like to do one of those, and I have that picked out already.
Okay.
So that's my plan for showing you. Let me know if that feels like too much Total War Warhammer. But it seems like everybody's having a good time.
Everyone's having a good time. It's first of all, me, the
star,
the most important.
Yeah,
is having a good time. Secondly, it does seem to be quite popular with some. This is a series you are known for playing these games.
Yes, yeah.
Maybe not to the same extent you're known for playing, endless games, but it's up there. And so I think people are really happy to have you play this. I'm happy to spend some time here. I dig the kind of more battle-y, militarily stuff.
Okay, well said.
Not really. I certainly don't need to see another full campaign. I mean, I know it's a short campaign, but
yeah, the word "full" is doing some weird work there.
But I'm more of a dilettante than you are, I think. But yeah, I'm happy to spend as much time here as you like, especially see new factions and how they work and how those systems work. Okay.
So the last thing, the last question I have, and I think this is something that is a little bit of a sticking point in the community, is the question of opposition. So you saw in that last game, right? We're playing to an ending. And the game presents you with a bunch of different reasonable stopping points. But really you're done whenever you feel like you're done, right?
Yeah.
While we're doing that, all the other factions in the world are behaving as though they are kind of doing the same thing, but we're not playing against them in the sense that they cannot win, right? We're not playing the same game they're playing,
Right.
right? There's no version of that campaign where you go, rats, fucking Ungrim Iron Fist won the game before we could win the game, and so we came in second place. What do you think of that? I think that's sort of one of the major breaks between this and like a 4X, like a real proper 4X. And it's not, I think, one of the things that people think of first, but in terms of like the way all of the game mechanics of real 4Xs are weighted around this idea that you are struggling against other players in a sort of an equal contest.
Yeah. That's really. I don't think I quite realized that the other players, quote unquote, weren't able to win until you just said it.
Right, they're all doing their own thing, and you could imagine a person playing them, right? A person playing Visimland, and being like,
Right.
"Okay, I did my 60 conquers, I'm good," or whatever. But it wouldn't affect your victory.
Yeah. So I guess my question is, can you lose? I mean, I guess you lose the campaign if your faction is you lose all your cities and all your units, right?
Yeah. In theory, you can. I've never seen it happen, but I suppose it could happen.
Yeah, that definitely. It definitely feels like there's less tension there and less of a time pressure
Yeah, like
than there would be in a 4X.
to what degree does it sort of like leech the gameness out of it? But then
Yeah.
equally, here's the question: like, it is technically the case in 4X games that you could, another player could beat you or whatever. But if you're playing Civilization, even if you're playing Civilization on a pretty high level, that's not realistically true, right? Like,
Yeah.
the AI in most of these games is so bad that it's not really the case that you are playing against them. You are kind of playing against yourself for like in terms of how quickly can I score a victory or whatever. But like, if you're playing a game of 6, especially like Civ 7 on the highest difficulty or whatever, it's never a concern that like somebody's gonna actually hit the end before you are. So
Yeah.
that being the case, with it being the case that that's not real, even though it's built, like the possibility of it is built into the mechanics, does that reduce the degree of like? Do you get what I'm getting at? There's there's something.
I get what you're getting at.
There's
yeah.
something here in the very definition of game, like the sort of the core of the way we think about what these are and how all their systems should be designed and what is all of it pointing to, that I think is really drawn out by this difference between like quote unquote real opponents playing a fair game against you and opponents in this game that are mostly just like, they're almost more like a feature of the world than they are other players.
So basically, what you're saying is Total War Warhammer is a Mario game.
That's 100% what I said. I don't know how you could possibly hear anything else.
Well, I mean, because excuse me, more in the video game space, I feel, which is not my area of expertise, but more in this space, it's stuff that you've shown me than in my kind of board game space. You do have this difference between games that are meant to be a competitive experience and games that are kind of a guided experience, which has some challenge, but you are intended to complete. A single player mode in a game, you are intended to reach the end with some obstacles, with some difficulty.
I think you're right on though, using the word complete instead of the word win.
Yeah, and I do think there is room in the board game space for games that no one wins and are still games. A lot of stuff that Zoe Alred, who's I guess kind of a friend of mine, does is in that kind of space where there are not victors or not just one victor. Um, but yeah, I think there's a difference between like a game that is played in a match and a game that is played as an experience, even like a strategic experience like this one. And I think I think you make a fair point that a lot of forex games pretend to be the one thing, but in practice
While
they are
yeah,
the
if
other.
effectively being the other, yeah.
Yeah,
And I think it's worth noting that like I think there's a significant portion of the audience that doesn't actually want them to be like really
yeah,
competitive games, that would enjoy them less if they were really competitive games. I don't know. This is just something
yeah.
that's been on my mind a
Because it
lot as I've been sort of organizing this next portion of games that we're going to be playing.
yeah because there are people because you want to feel you want to explore the space and the mechanics and you want to feel kind of smart about it. Um, and I think it's a perfectly valid thing to come to games for, but you don't want it cut short. But you don't want it spoiled, as it were, when you're playing something that is a single player thing. I think I mean this does have a multiplayer mode. I don't know how many people actually play it multiplayer, especially
Yeah,
with the battle resolution.
yeah, me neither.
Um, I don't know. I'd be interested to try to find. I'm sure there are stats somewhere. I'm sure someone has stats somewhere about like what percentage of Civ games, for example, are single player versus multiplayer. You know,
Oh, for sure.
because I would bet a lot of them are actually single player, and it might be a thing. Because one thing with I'm sorry I'm rambling a bit, but one thing with 4X games, as you've shown me, is a lot of the design is vestigial. It's built on concepts that have been around for a long time, and a lot of things are done a certain way because that's how it's always been done, or that's how Civ does it, or that's
Yeah.
how um, humankind did it, and then Civ stole it. Um, and I feel like maybe because of how niche they are, and because of how the audience can perhaps be a little tetchy about some things. Um, I haven't seen yet like a really radical departure from some of the core principles. I think there is room for that while still arguably being a 4X. And I know there's some stuff you haven't shown me yet that might be more in line with that. A full 4X that kind of reinvents the thing from first principles. But I think looking at like what is the intended experience? Does this need to be designed with the framework of a competitive game if it's never actually played that way? I think that's a really good question to ask if I was working in this space.
Yeah, so the sort of elephant in the room for people who are familiar, and unfortunately this is going to be not that many people, is John Schaefer's At the Gates. Right, John Schaefer, who was the lead on Civ 5, I want to say.
Okay.
But he was he was a developer on a couple of Civ games, and I believe he was the lead on Civ 5. He left Firaxis after the game that he was lead on, whichever one it was, and struck out on his own, in part because he wanted to explore this idea, and so he put together a studio, and they came out with this game called At the Gates. John Schaefer's At the Gates, in part because I think it's supposed to be like a Sid Meier's Civilization thing, but unfortunately, it's very funny that it forms a phrase. It's like, oh no, John Schaefer's at the gates. What will we do? Can anyone stop him? Etc. Where it is a single player only 4X, where the other faction, quote unquote factions in the world, are not playing the same game that you're playing. right? And that are just like, you are growing up alongside, the Roman Empire, and also these smaller, these factions represent smaller organizations, and there were a lot of people who were like really mad about that design decision. To the point that I know it was a thing of some sorts, because it was a Kickstarter game. He took people's money before there was a finished product, and so when it was not the kind of thing people were expecting, there was some grar.
I'd be really interested in looking at that one at some point.
It is, yeah. It is on the list. It is probably. I go back and forth about whether or not it's the next thing, but it's soon in any case.
I do feel like single player 4X or single player whatever this genre is. I do think if there was some kind of lose condition beyond just lose everything, a thing
Yeah.
you have to work constantly to stave off or outrun. In the way that like a cooperative board game often has several lose conditions you have to keep track of.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
it would
yeah.
add some pressure
A sort of a
that you
pandemic
don't.
style.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would add some kind of pressure that arguably exists or should exist in 4X games, and I think that in general would probably it would not necessarily address the soup problem, but it would feel less soupy, right?
Yeah, for sure. That's probably true. That's probably the case. Anyway, we've been sitting here talking over a credit screen for several minutes at this point, but I just wanted to. I think that's for me that's one of the major and most salient differences between this style of large war strategy game and something like a 4X, but it's not one of the ones that you hear people mention usually. Like if you have this discussion about like what is different between these games, I think this is one of the biggest things, and it's core to almost every bit of system design in the whole game. But it's almost like you said, you didn't even realize really that that's what was happening. It's weird. It's weird how like almost stealthy it is in the actual gameplay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People watching this, if you enjoyed this credit scroll, why don't you add your name?
Okay.
Patreon.com/
Also,
whatever it is.
like and subscribe.
Like
Patreon.com
and subscribe.
/ SB Make Stuff. It's in the description. You go check the doobly-doo, click the links, and whatever. I feel dirty having said it. Okay. So anyway.
That's why I said it for you. I love feeling dirty.
All right. So that's going to be it for us for
Only
today.
way I can.
Amabel. That's going to be it for us for today. Thank you all so much for watching. When you come back next time, we'll be properly starting this game as Clan Molder. I'm excited to be using the some of the craziest units that the Skaven have to offer. I do not have a tremendous amount of experience with a lot of the beastie type stuff, so I think it's going to be really rad. Come back for that, and we'll see you then.
I'm going to squirt my musk.
Amabel.